Okay, just picture this. You open your mail, pull out your electric bill, and it says $950. Seriously, $950.
And you know, if that number sounds crazy, listen to this one. It's just heartbreaking. These aren't just numbers on a page. This is what's really happening to people right now. Folks are facing bills they just have no way of paying.
So what is going on here? How did we get to this point?
Well, behind these shocking bills, there's a huge battle being fought, and it's over the stuff we literally can't live without, our water, our power. It really boils down to this: private profit versus the public good.
Which brings us to the big question we're going to tackle in this explainer. Why? Why are the bills for the things we need most just spiraling completely out of control? Now, I know what you're probably thinking. It's inflation, right? Everything's more expensive. And yeah, that's part of it, but it's not the whole story. Not even close. The truth is, for some very powerful people, these insane price hikes, they're not an accident. They're part of a strategy, a very deliberate, and for them, a very, very profitable one.
All right, first, let's really dig into what this looks like on the ground. We're not talking about just a few extra bucks on your bill that are annoying. For so many families, this has become a full-blown crisis, happening right inside their own homes.
Okay, check this out. This is a real bill from someone in New Garden, Pennsylvania. So their public sewer system gets sold to a private company called Aqua, and boom, suddenly their bill for using 12,000 gallons is almost double what they used to pay for 13,000 gallons. Let me just say that again because it's wild. They paid more for using less water. And believe me, this is not just a one-off story. This isn't some isolated incident. In New Mexico alone, we're talking about almost 40,000 households that are behind on their utility bills. This is a huge systemic problem, and it's only getting bigger. So if folks are struggling this much, who's actually making money here? Who is benefiting from all this? Well, let's pull back the curtain and meet the key players who are turning our water and power into Wall Street's next big gold rush.
First up, you've got what's called an investor-owned utility, or IOU. A perfect example is that company we mentioned, Aqua, Pennsylvania. Now, these are publicly traded companies, and that's key, because their main job, their legal duty, isn't to give you good service. It's to make as much money as possible for their shareholders. That's priority number one.
Next, you've got the Wall Street bettors. We're talking about hedge fund guys like Kyle Bass. You might remember him. He made an absolute fortune betting against the housing market before it crashed. Well, now he's looking at water. He doesn't see a human right. He sees the next big thing to trade, like gold or oil. And he's buying up water rights in places like Texas. And then, of course, there are the private equity giants. Huge firms like Blackstone are making moves to take over electric companies. You've also got others backing companies like Blue Triton, the folks who own Poland Spring. Their business model is super simple, really. Buy up essential stuff, squeeze every last penny of profit out of it, and then sell it off.
Now, these guys don't just waltz in and jack up the prices overnight. Oh no, it's way more sophisticated than that. They have a playbook, a step-by-step guide for how to turn something that belongs to all of us into a private cash machine. So, let's break that playbook down.
Okay, so the whole game often kicks off by digging up some really old, kind of obscure laws. Take the rule of capture. It's still on the books in states like Texas and Maine. It basically says whoever builds the biggest pump or has the deepest straw wins. It's this ancient law that lets big companies suck up unbelievable amounts of groundwater, even if it means their neighbors' wells run completely dry. So, after they've found a legal loophole, step 2 is lobbying. They pour money into pushing for new laws, like Act 12 in Pennsylvania, which makes it way easier and more attractive for towns to sell off their public water or sewer systems. Then they go to the towns themselves, especially towns that are maybe a little strapped for cash, and they pitch the sale as free money. It's a total bait and switch. Because as soon as they get control, they start building all this expensive new infrastructure. And here's the kicker. Their profit is a guaranteed percentage of how much they spend. And the final step, you got it? All those costs, plus their nice fat profit margin, land right on your bill. And what's the end result of this whole playbook? Well, the numbers are pretty staggering. A huge nationwide study looked at the 500 biggest water systems. And what did it find? It found that people served by these private for-profit companies pay almost 60% more. 60! That's a massive difference compared to what folks on public systems pay. And the scale of this? Wow. We're talking about an estimated $50 billion a year. That's billion with a B. And that's not just their total profit. That's what's considered excess profit. It's money they're making above and beyond what any financial model would call fair or reasonable. But look, this story isn't just about corporate takeovers and helpless customers. Not at all. All across the country, people are waking up to what's going on. They're getting organized, they're fighting back, and in the process, they're forming some really surprising alliances.
I mean, just look at what's happening. In Bucks County, Pennsylvania, regular citizens banded together and actually stopped a $1 billion sewer sale. In East Texas, a tiny little local water board went head-to-head with a massive hedge fund and just said nope and denied their permit. You had hundreds of people marching on the state capitol in New Mexico to protest Blackstone, and up in Freiburg, Maine, the town is trying to buy their water company back so they can make it public again. This is happening everywhere. And you know what's really fascinating here? It's who is doing the fighting. This completely cuts across all the usual political lines. Just listen to what Republican State Representative Cody Harris from Texas said. Democrat, Republican, black, white, it doesn't matter. Everybody agrees that we have to protect our water. When it's something this fundamental, everyone's on the same team.
And all of these local fights, they really boil down to one single fundamental choice. It's a huge question about who, we as a society, want to have control over the things we literally all need to survive.
And here it is, laid out, plain and simple. You've got two totally different ways of looking at this. On one side, you have the idea of a public good. That means community control, being accountable to the public, long-term thinking. On the other side, you have the private profit model. That's Wall Street control, being accountable only to shareholders and focusing on short-term cash.
And look, the idea of public ownership, it's not some crazy, untested theory. Not at all. Right now in the US, there are over 2,000 publicly owned power utilities, and the data is crystal clear. They have the cheapest rates, and they have the best customer service. The model flat out works.
So that leaves us with one last really big question to think about. It's the same question people in communities from Maine to New Mexico are asking themselves right now. And it's a question for all of us, really. Who should control the resources that every single one of us needs to survive?